Hey there. Welcome to the Pelvis Project podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Roxy. We're two pelvic health experts brought together by passion for our careers, entrepreneurship, motherhood, and the desire for intentional relationships.
Join us in our mission to spread pelvic floor awareness and start conversations surrounding the truth behind genuine health, imperfect wellness, and joyfully navigating life. We are so glad you are here with us.
Let's start the conversation. Welcome back to the Pelvis.
Hello.
Hi to the Pelvis Project podcast. We're really excited about this episode. We individually came up with 5 different strategies, suggestions, recommendations, however you want to look at them, for surviving the season. Separately, we did. And then we came together, and some cross and some don't. And so We're excited about this. It's not going to be as pelvis-y heavy, and that's okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it was so everybody listening, Roxy and I decided to come up with these 5 tips to kind of get you through the holiday season. And so we hadn't really talked about it. And then we just got together to record, and she's like, okay, tell me yours. And, and then I did. And it's just interesting and fun to kind of compare to see they are different. There's a couple that cross, but yeah, so it will be fun for us to go through these, and hopefully one or a few of them pull on and touch your heart. And I will say we each have a bonus one too. So yeah, here we go. Roxy's going to start us off with 5 tips, her 5 tips to get through the holiday season.
Sure. So first one, air and sunshine is my first tip.
That's right.
I think that we overlook the opportunity that we have to just take in some vitamin D, get some fresh air, and how refreshing and renewing that can be. And I know historically, when I've looked back at some of our family get-togethers or just different times, if I'm feeling anxious or I'm just feeling kind of heavy or just annoyed, quite frankly, with something or a situation, whatever, sometimes I think the best thing I can do is just kind of create space there and go out and just get in some new air, get some fresh air, and just be in the sunshine.
Yeah, that's such a good one. And really, us living in Kansas, our weather is all over the place. And historically, though, around Christmas time, the weather is nice. And so it's lovely when we can, have these gatherings and to be able to go outside. It is just so refreshing. And it's just a good reminder that sometimes we get caught up in all the things that we want to get to help with our health and our well-being, when really we have some of what the Lord gave us of sunshine and fresh air and the ground and all the things that can really make a big change, and it doesn't cost a thing. So I like that one, Roxy. I like that one.
It's free 99.
Yeah, it's free 99.
Okay. And then the next one kind of segues off of that and that's just to move. And I think when I really was thinking about moving, it actually had to do with being outside. But obviously, if we hop on a treadmill or do lift weights or whatever, go to the gym, that's great. And I think that, we're not going to waste a ton of time here saying all the positive reasons to move. But one thing that I've really noticed of whether it's just me being by myself, going for a walk, even just around the block to create some space and feel refreshed. One thing too that I've noticed and I've heard, I don't know if there's research on it, but just heard observation about of walking side by side with someone. So whether it's hiking or I don't think you have to go on these huge hikes, but just even walking in a park or whatever, the posture of walking side by side with someone is really non-threatening. And it's instead of being across the table, which eye contact is really good, and there's not bad things about sitting across the table from somebody at all. But there is a natural openness and vulnerability that comes, and it allows conversations to go a little deeper when you're walking side by side. And I think that that's just really unique and really simple and basic. And so whether that movement is by yourself or with somebody, I think that that could be a really good opportunity, again, to just kind of simplify your day in a certain moment or go deep in your day in a certain moment, like whatever that looks like. And yeah, just unlocking that ability to do what needs to happen in that moment, I guess.
Yeah, I like that one. It's a good one.
Okay. The next one that I have is looking at taking every challenge that you face. And our challenges are all going to be different, right? But taking every challenge that you have and looking at it as an opportunity for growth. And obviously with little kids right now, that's been something I've done with my, I've tried to do. Obviously, no one's perfect, but I've tried to, when I'm feeling frustrated or annoyed or hurried or whatever it is, the emotion that I'm feeling, then saying, man, what's the deeper meaning? Like, my daughter won't put her shoes on and I'm getting annoyed and we got to go. And I was making whatever for the dinner for that we're getting ready to go to. And it just is all kind of coming to a peak.
Mm-hmm.
But then saying, oh man, this is actually an opportunity for me to slow myself down and show her love in the midst of maybe some chaos or in the midst of my selfishness that is wanting me to come above her and, come down on her.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's
Mm-hmm.
just an example, but I mean, populate out to or project out into any situation, but saying,
Absolutely.
and I'm feeling this. What's that mean about me? And can I use this as a time to grow in that?
Yeah. And when you mentioned this one earlier, Roxy, before we started, it kind of definitely struck a chord within me because I know here recently there's just been a lot of challenges. There's lots going on, and I have found myself, and with the help of going to therapy, being able to kind of stop myself and ask myself, what's happening here? What is really going on inside of me to be feeling and responding this way? Is it actually true? Or is it my brain writing scripts and telling myself something that's untrue, perhaps? And so to be able to stop yourself, because this is going to come up in this season, we're around a lot of family, we're around a lot of people. In some situations, you don't see eye to eye for different things. And sometimes we automatically go to the negative. And so that's where like this outside time and going out and moving and getting sunshine and having space is helpful. But then also, yes, like there are going to be challenges, but to be able to stop yourself and almost remove yourself from potentially making it worse because you're so caught up. But yeah, just remembering like, I mean, I know sometimes with my own kiddos, if we're using our kids as an example, if I get frustrated or short, often it's not them at all. It's me, and it's something that happened in my day, and I'm frustrated, and so then I act like it's because of them, and it's not. So that's another good one, Roxy. Good job. These are good tips.
Okay. Number 4. This comes from a place of anticipating maybe some of these challenges. So if we're ahead of the curve and we know that someone triggers us, or we know that certain emotions are going to come up in certain situations, asking ourselves, how can I bless someone in this opportunity, in
Mm-hmm.
this situation? And that can be whether that, I just was thinking of in the past, when has this really helped me? And it might be like a company Christmas party, right? Like something like that, or going to the grocery store when it's a madhouse, or just going into a family situation where you're anticipating tension. You're maybe anticipating just an annoying person or a conversation you don't really want to be a part of. And I hate to say
Yeah.
that because obviously we love our families, but they're just, relationships can be messy, right? And so
Yeah.
I just think it has helped me in a time where I maybe feel insecure. I am focused on how am I going to feel, and like, how am I going to control my emotions, or how am I going to, do all this? And it's like, man, when I've been able to come in and say, how can I bless someone? And I'll shout out the one and only Lisa Turkers for this one.
Yes.
I did a study many, many, many years ago, and it was just that idea of when we feel like we aren't included, or we feel like we aren't measuring up, or we are anticipating that. She really has challenged me to do this. And it's that little piece of advice has exponentially benefited me over the years. And I just think,
Yeah.
thinking about that, how can I be a blessing to someone and have that be the focus? And that takes our focus off of, ourselves. And it kind of gives us a task in the moment, not to try and be unauthentic, but
Yes.
just to say,
Yes.
look, what are some ways that I can maybe try and understand this person better, or let someone go in front of me at the grocery store that's really at the end of their string or whatever that is. So
Yeah, no, that one is so good because it does, like you said, we are selfish beings. And so often I know we've fallen into this where like you're at a family event and you just want to sit down and relax. Like you start to get selfish to the fact where you're like, well, I don't want to do anything. And so then, the kids are loud and playing and all the things. And that's where that tension builds up. But you're just like you said, if you go into it with a purpose of like, how can I bless somebody? And maybe it's, I'm going to do the dishes. I'm going to go ahead and make someone's plate for them. If they going into it, you've already pre-planned to do that, then there's no loss of expectation. It feels good. And I have tried even with my own children, and they're not perfect by any means, but just every day, pick one person, look around, figure out one thing you can do to help someone's day go better or just, being a kind or whatnot. And so, yeah, when you put that into the holidays, it really does make a difference. And it's very interesting how it can change the posture of your heart because you don't let all that negativity and those scripts we were talking about, it's like it blocks them. And then that goes into kind of one of my tips too that we'll get to, but absolutely. That's such a good reminder. I even needed that one.
Number 5 then, and this I feel like can probably bleed into some of what we just talked about, but just the idea of gratitude and Thanksgiving, and really where I've found this to be the most helpful in my life lately, of saying when I'm frustrated about something or when I'm comparing myself or when I'm had an expectation that didn't turn out how I thought it was going to, or when I'm afraid, if I'm fearful
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
something, asking, you're just going and saying, man, I'm so grateful I even have this opportunity. Like, yeah, I'm afraid in this situation, but man, thank you, Lord, for this opportunity, or, just even I was telling Megan, I was putting my girls to bed nap right before this.
Yeah.
And it was like, they were just being silly and giggly. And I mean, they're 1 and 4. And so like, they just were making each other laugh. And I'm like, it's nap time. Like, let's go. Let's not make this longer, and then I had to really stop myself and say, man, I'm thankful for these
Yeah.
two. Like
Yeah.
some people want this opportunity and they don't have it. And then even
Yeah.
then saying, man, they love each other and that's how they're showing it, and they're bonding and they're building a relationship through that moment. And yeah, I mean, that's not just to let them do whatever they want to, but just that idea of
Sure.
saying, man, started feeling myself getting really annoyed and angry and shorter and, but to be
Mm-hmm.
able to say, oh, this is really beautiful and this is really good, then help me come in, be gentler and like, okay, all right, that's enough and whatever, instead of being like, turn around and be quiet.
Yes. Yes. So good. Can't ever go wrong with gratitude and Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Okay. So my last one is real simple, but just to have fun. And, I think being present in the moment and saying, okay, this is whatever, or I'm too busy
Yeah.
for this. We're never too busy for things. Right. And
I
so just in our
know.
relationships, like having fun, maybe with the move, it's like turn on Christmas music and dancing or having,
Yes.
whatever it is of saying, okay, I don't want to get so caught up in the busyness and whatever. So like, how can I make this task be more fun?
Yeah. I love that. And I know we just music in our house is such a huge part of just I almost feel like every day and you can't help but your mood change when you listen to music. And so yeah, I mean maybe that is just if you've never tried that before, even just, like this silly Christmas music. I mean, the kids just love it so much. And then also too, like the Christmas music where it really is worshiping the Lord. And if you really listen to some of those traditional verses and words, and it's just, again, it just brings back, it kind of ties back into it. You can bring in that gratitude and yeah, you can't help but it change your mood.
Mm-hmm.
I love music.
Okay, so enough of mine. Let's jump into your list.
So let's wrap up. So that was Roxy's 5 plus an
Oh,
extra.
sure.
So there was
Yeah.
6. That last one was her bonus.
Yep. So I did Aaron Sun, move, turn every challenge into an opportunity, ask yourself, how can I bless someone? And then have gratitude and Thanksgiving. And the bonus was fun.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
All right. So let's go to mine. And my first one is going to cross with one we just talked about. But number one for my tips to get through the holidays is do gratitudes. Again, it can be something you have to do with quiet time. You could write them down. It can be thoughts while you're driving in the car. But I just give you a little bit of info on what gratitudes can do to help. They lessen anxiety, reduces depression. Doing gratitude supports your heart health. It relieves stress. It improves sleep. And we all need that all the time. But, this season seems even more because there is just more going on. And I'll venture to say that doing that, if you're sleeping better and you're having less stress and all of that, improves your immunity, which helps you not get sick. So there's lots that can go into gratitudes beyond just the pure fact that it's wonderful. So gratitudes is number one, which Roxy, you had the same one. So moving on to number two. Okay, so this one is something that has been kind of a theme in our family as we have navigated certain things with our son. And he maybe some episode we'll talk a little bit more into this, but he goes to play therapy. And then also this has been a topic in our own personal therapy with our therapist, just because my husband is a teacher and deals with a lot of children. And so this is just a reminder that going into these holidays, that our kids are not little adults and we can't expect them to act like adults. Yes, we can have expectations for our kiddos as far as, how they act or behavior, but not putting so much pressure on them that is unrealistic. Because if we think about it, most adults, all of us know what it feels like to feel overwhelmed. And we sometimes struggle with how to deal with that. And so children feel that same way, and they have no idea how to identify that or how to let that out. And so that might come across as being disobedient, crying, having meltdowns, maybe being hyperactive. They just know that inside they don't feel right. And so just a reminder and a tip that it is okay to leave an event if that's best for your children, if it's too overwhelming, that we need to make sure that we're having compassion and patience and moving slower with them and checking in and having that contact, like hugs and hand holding, getting down to their eye level, those sorts of things to help them regulate off of your nervous system. So us being able to be in a good place so that then they can be in a good place. And also, just FYI too, we all know what it feels like when we eat certain things and suddenly our blood sugar drops, and that feeling inside where your like, heart's racing and you're sweating and you're like, I got to eat something now. Just a little put that in your thinking cap that happens for kids. And they're eating a lot of cookies and fun things with the holidays, and we don't know when that hits them. And so just always ask yourself when it's going downhill, when did they eat? Are they hungry?
When did they sleep?
When did they sleep? Do they need to poop? Are they constipated? Have they had water? So those are some tips. And that's a mom to mom. But then also, if you don't have children, and you have nieces and nephews, or you're just out and about and you see a child breaking down, as someone who maybe does not have children, just remembering that. And again, that just opens up that compassion too of man, poor buddy or poor thing. I wonder what's going on. Approaching it from curiosity and concern versus oh my gosh, I cannot believe that they acted like that. So okay, so that's number two. That was kind of deep. So it didn't mean for that to be like a therapy session. Number three, it's okay to say no to protect your time. And it's that saying of saying no to one thing is a way for you to say yes to something else. And often, especially if you have children and a family, saying no to something else allows you to have maybe more intentional time with your kiddos. And that's okay. And I say this tip because it's something I struggle with myself. And I should myself to death. I should do this and I should do that. And It's something I'm personally working on. And once you flex that no muscle enough times, it starts to get easier. And by disappointing somebody, you might be making the day of somebody else that really needs it. So just knowing and remembering that it's okay to say no.
Yeah, I really like that one. I think that that's a struggle for a lot of us. I think there are a
Yeah.
lot of expectations that we put on ourselves that really we're the only ones that are expecting that out of ourselves. And piggybacking that with the one you said before about kids, of I've really had to learn the hard way. Like my kids
Yeah.
have maxes, you know, and
Oh,
even though
totally.
we are trying to do all these fun things, like they can only take in so much. And so being able to really look and say what is realistic in this day or in this event or activity or whatever that still serves them and doesn't overwhelm them. And
Yeah.
that's kind of been my practicing of no this season, of saying we could do 10 things today and they'd all be really good and they'd have good intentions. And yeah, they'd probably enjoy all of them. But like if they're tapped out, no one enjoys something good when you're
Yeah.
just not feeling great. So I think that that's a good reminder.
Yeah. And then that goes to like, then their memories. And this isn't to cause shame or regret or guilt towards anybody. This is just us speaking as two moms that are there with everybody and have felt that guilt and regret of how we've responded in situations. I just had this happen last week that I know I should have responded better to my children with a certain situation. But with that, like, there's no shame or guilt in any of this. But the intention is to go do something fun with our kids, and then their memories to be that mom was yelling at us all the time. And so, just like you said, Roxy, knowing that our kiddos have that max is important. And just one more kind of like personal story with that, and something that we've gotten better at through our experience with our son. We had been at an event to go see Santa, and all of our family was there. It's kind of a thing that we do every single year at my family's flower shop. And it got very busy. And one of the things with my son is doesn't like crowded places. He doesn't like it to be noisy and all the things. He gets overwhelmed. And we were taking pictures, and we had to take pictures, and then we kind of disperse, and then we'd go do like, we did like 3 or 4 different pictures. And he started to get real kind of like, I don't want to, like the typical type of, you can imagine with kiddos not wanting to like go back and take pictures. Old me would have been like, get over here, just get it done, gripey. But I knew what was happening. So, and I only tell this story just because I hopefully maybe it will help somebody else, because I'm by no means perfect when it comes to the stuff. But I just kind of took him off to the side where it was quieter and got down to his level and held his hands, just like the things I mentioned before, like having that touch. And, hey, buddy, what's really going on here? Is it just a lot going on? And he said, yeah, it is. There's just a lot. There's a lot of people, and I'm just overwhelmed. And I said, okay. And we had that conversation. I said, I slowed way down. We have one more picture to take and then we're done. And I explained to him, just to have that conversation. Kids are so much smarter than we give them credit for. And sometimes just giving them the words because they can't pull them out is so very helpful. And even for him to say things like, can I just go outside and walk around? He verbalized what he needed. And so we just have to slow down enough to go help our kids. And so anyway, boy, we got on a segue with that.
That's okay.
Okay. So moving on. My next one, number 4, is breathing. So now I'm kind of segueing into our physical therapist brain here. Breathing. So taking time to breathe. So just doing that can decrease our stress hormone, decrease our blood pressure, our heart rate. Often, in what we do, we talk about 360 breathing, and this helps stimulate the vagus nerve, which kind of helps get us back into this rest and digest sort of state with our parasympathetic nervous system. Just helps us relax in general, but it also helps relax our pelvic floor. So tying into, if you are somebody who notices around the holidays, you have an increase in pain in certain places, you maybe are somebody who that's when you notice that you have urinary urgency or frequency, like all of that gets revved up by stress and the stress cycle. So stopping and doing intentional breath work is very helpful to manage A, symptoms, and B, just let you be, happier and healthier through this time that we're just want to enjoy it and be able to be with our kids and our family and not feel like we're like running to the bathroom or we're feeling like we have a UTI or that back pain that we've been fighting is suddenly, double than what it used to be. So breathing is number 4. And number 5 is first, I have to give myself a check with your provider comment, but find yourself a good magnesium. So we often talk about magnesium citrate for digestion and constipation, but magnesium glycinate helps reduce anxiety, decreases pain, helps you sleep better, calms the nervous system. And sometimes that can be really helpful to just add in at night. And so, of course, like I said, check with your provider first, but magnesium is always kind of a go-to, I feel like, for a lot of us pelvic health providers, because it can be so helpful to support the system. And then my number 6, which is my little bonus, is another simple one, is increase your water. So again, lots of holiday parties, lots of bubbly waters, bubbly drinks, all the things. So if we remember that our body is up to 60% water, and water helps carry nutrients and oxygen to your cells, it flushes bacteria and toxins from your bladder, aids in digestion, prevents constipation, it improves your skin complexion, which everybody wants that. But just like, helps the tissue. If you see skin that if somebody that's really dehydrated and it's just kind of like sunken and thin and not supple, it makes a huge difference by just drinking water. And then in that too, making sure that we're also getting electrolytes, because you can, in fact, drink too much water to flush your system, so then you're going to feel like junk. So finding a good quality electrolyte, help replenish those minerals. And that helps with your energy level, helps relieve headaches. And again, just in general, water helps lubricate your joints. So with the cooler temperatures and everybody talks about increase in joint pain because of arthritis, making sure that we're getting our water in can help with that. So those are my tips for a little review. Gratitudes. Number 2 was making sure you remember that your kids are not little adults. They are, in fact, children. Number 3 was saying no to protect time. Number 4 was breathing. Number 5 was check with your provider, but find a good magnesium. And number 6 was increase your water. So hopefully those and Roxy's together is some good food for thought to help you get through this holiday season.
For sure. As you're listening, if you want to find one or two just a low-hanging fruit that resonated, that is our desire, is that you would benefit from any of this. And I know I speak for the both of us as we kind of wrap this podcast up. And as we're going through these lists that we've come up with, we really feel it important to just share that the lens that we're viewing a lot of this by is, we're a pelvic health therapists, so we know a lot of the anatomy and we have some experience with kiddos on just a personal level. We're in therapy, all the things, the tangible things that we see here on earth. But really, both of us look at this through the lens of the hope that we have in our Lord and Savior. And as we're looking for answers to some of these questions or to some of these problems that we have in life, there's nothing that's more everlasting than the hope that we have in Jesus Christ. And what this season means, that is when he came to this earth as a baby, upside down of what anyone thought. And we were looking for, a magnificent warrior, and here he came in as a little baby. And I think that sometimes gets overlooked. And so we just want to wrap this up and wish everybody a very Merry Christmas in a non-cliche way, but just to remember why it is that we are gathering, why it is that we are celebrating, and encourage you in that way.
Yeah. And take these tips, take them or leave it. But ultimately, we just our hope that you can find some quiet, intentional peace that is found with connecting with Jesus, and just remembering that is really what it's all about. And it kind of gets forgotten in the hustle and bustle. And so ultimately, yes, like Roxy said, the main tip would be to anchor yourself and ground yourself in that and the hope of Jesus, and then all should be well through the holidays. Yeah, we thank everybody for listening.
Yeah.
This will be the last episode before the end of the year. So it's been fun to get the podcast going. We appreciate so much everybody listening and rating the podcast and sharing. And we just can't wait for 2024. We have some exciting things lined up that will be shared after the first of the year. We've got some interviews with some really awesome people. We've got a pelvic health occupational therapist that we're going to have on. We have a sex therapist that we're going to have on, a functional nutritionist. So get ready. 2024 is going to be awesome. And always you can message us through Instagram at the Pelvis Project for any questions or any suggestions of topics you'd like us to talk about. Thank you so much for joining us this week on the Pelvis Project podcast. Help us continue the conversation by liking and sharing this episode with friends. And if you really want to do us a solid, leave us a review. If you'd like to follow us on social, check out the show notes for links. And remember, this week, take a deep breath and relax your pelvic floor.